Take a deep breath. Fill your lungs until your ribs press tight against your chest. Hold it for a moment and let it out. Now imagine doing that exact same thing, pulling in lungful after lungful of fresh, clean air, except none of it reaches your blood. You are not choking on an obstruction. Your windpipe is wide open, yet every single cell in your body is screaming that you are suffocating to death. Dying from a massive blood clot does not begin with dramatic, clutching chest pain, nor does it look like the sudden heart attacks you see in cinema. It begins silently, days or even weeks earlier, disguised as nothing more threatening than a mild leg cramp you dismiss on a Tuesday afternoon. Think about the last time you spent hours sitting down without moving. Maybe you were trapped in a middle seat on a cross-country flight, glued to your desk during a grueling workday, or resting on the couch after a minor twisted ankle. The moment your legs stop moving, the calf muscle pump shuts down. That muscular contraction is the primary engine responsible for squeezing dark, oxygen-depleted blood back up against gravity toward your heart. When it stops, your blood pools in the quiet pockets behind the delicate, one-way valves of your deep veins. This stagnation triggers a biological domino effect known as Virchow's triad. Your blood flow slows to an idle. The microscopic friction of pooled cells irritates the delicate endothelial lining of your vein walls. Sensing this damage, your internal clotting machinery assumes you are bleeding out and rushes to seal a non-existent wound. Platelets snag along the vessel wall. Fibrin proteins spin a sticky, invisible web, snaring millions of passing red blood cells until a dense, gelatinous mass solidifies deep inside your muscle. At this stage, your body whispers its first warning, but you almost certainly ignore it. You feel a dull, persistent tightness behind your calf or knee. It feels like you worked out too hard yesterday or slept with your leg twisted at an awkward angle. If you touch it, the skin might feel slightly warmer than the other leg, perhaps a millimeter swollen, but nothing alarming. You rub the sore spot with your thumb, trying to work out what you think is a stubborn knot. You have no way of knowing that your fingers are pressing directly against a growing thrombus, anchored to your vein wall by a fragile, trembling stem. Then, you stand up. You get up to walk to the kitchen, stretch your legs, or grab a glass of water. Your calf muscle contracts with full mechanical force against the vein. The sudden hydraulic pressure wave shears the head of the clot clean off its anchor. In less than a second, what was a stationary thrombus becomes an embolus, a free-floating projectile sweeping through the express lanes of your circulatory highway. You do not feel this happen. You take 2 ordinary steps across the floor while the clot surges silently upward into the wide, rushing channel of your inferior vena cava. Within 3 seconds, it empties directly into the right atrium of your heart. It drops through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle, and with one violent rhythmic squeeze of cardiac muscle, the clot is fired straight up into your main pulmonary artery. The entire transit from your leg to your chest takes under 10 seconds. Then comes the sudden impact. The main pulmonary artery divides into 2 branches feeding your left and right lungs. If the clot is large enough, it wedges directly across this fork, creating what physicians call a saddle embolus. In a fraction of a heartbeat, 70 to 80% of the blood flow supplying both of your lungs is completely severed. The sensation hits you like an ambush. Your very first physical awareness is a sharp, localized, searing pain in your chest. This is pleuritic pain. The lung tissue downstream from the blockage is instantly starved of oxygen and begins to suffer acute ischemia. Because your lung lining is heavily wired with somatic nerve endings, every microscopic expansion of your chest wall feels like an internal blade dragging across raw tissue. Instinctively, you try to take a massive, deep breath to compensate. That is when the real nightmare begins. Your lungs expand to their physical limit, drawing in massive quantities of oxygen, but the blood vessels wrapped around your air sacs are empty. This is the physiological terror of dead space ventilation. You have all the air in the world inside your chest, but zero blood flowing past to absorb it. The bridge between your breath and your life has been washed away. Instantly, carbon dioxide spikes in your bloodstream while oxygen levels plummet. The chemoreceptors in your neck and brainstem scream red alert, hijacking your nervous system. Your brain commands every single muscle in your torso to pull in more air. You begin to hyperventilate furiously. You use your diaphragm, your ribs, the muscles in your neck and collarbone, straining violently with every inhalation. Yet the feeling of suffocation only multiplies. It produces a visceral, animalistic sensation called air hunger, the horrifying realization that you can inhale as deeply as you want, but you are effectively drowning in open air. Simultaneously, your autonomic nervous system detonates an emergency flood of adrenaline and noradrenaline into your bloodstream. Your heart rate accelerates past 130 beats per minute, pounding furiously against your ribs as it tries to force blood through a closed door. Peripheral blood vessels clamp down violently to save your core, draining the color from your face and turning your hands and feet ice cold, clammy, and pale. A faint, slate blue tint of cyanosis creeps into your lips and under your fingernails. With this chemical storm comes an ancient, chilling clinical phenomenon known as anger anemie. Anger anemie is not simple panic, and it is not hyperventilation syndrome. It is a profound, hardwired neurochemical conviction of impending doom. Deep inside your ischemic brainstem, your central nervous system recognizes that catastrophic failure is underway. Patients experiencing a massive pulmonary embolism often look at paramedics, nurses, or loved ones, and between ragged, useless gasps of air, state with chilling, absolute clarity, "I am dying right now." While your brain wrestles with air hunger, the mechanical engine inside your chest is tearing itself apart. Your heart is a tale of two different pumps. The left ventricle is a thick, muscular powerhouse designed to push blood against high pressure throughout your entire body. But the right ventricle is thin, delicate, and compliant, built only to gently roll blood a few inches into the soft, spongy tissue of your lungs. Now, your right ventricle is contracting violently against a solid wall of hydraulic resistance. With every single beat, the pressure inside that thin-walled chamber spikes to fatal levels. The muscle fibers stretch, balloon outward, and begin to tear. This is acute right heart failure. As your right ventricle dilates under the crushing pressure, the muscular wall separating your heart chambers bows backward into the left ventricle, crushing its internal volume from the inside out. Because no blood can cross the blockage in your lungs, no blood returns to fill the left side of your heart. The main engine of your body is suddenly pumping empty air. Your systemic blood pressure collapses in a state of catastrophic obstructive shock. A blood pressure of 120/80 drops instantly to 60/30 and then falls toward zero. Your brain is the single most oxygen-sensitive organ you have. The moment its blood pressure drops below critical thresholds, your conscious reality begins to dissolve. Your vision narrows into a tight, dark tunnel with the edges vignetting into black. The sharp, searing pain in your chest does not necessarily disappear, but your ability to register it fades into a distant, hollow numbness. The frantic sounds around you, the gasping of your own lungs, the voices of people shouting for help begin to sound muffled and underwater. A heavy, overwhelming dizziness pulls you down. Your postural muscles lose all tone, your knees buckle, and you collapse to the floor. Cerebral syncope takes over, shutting down conscious awareness as the brain runs completely out of oxygen. Within minutes, if blood flow is not restored, the electrical signals of your heart dissolve into pulseless electrical activity, and the silence becomes permanent. Yet this entire catastrophic cascade is not an inevitable fate. It is a mechanical failure with clear, unmistakable warning signs that can be caught long before the clot ever leaves your leg. When a clot is forming in your deep veins, your leg will give you clues. It will feel like a persistent, unyielding cramp that stretching cannot relieve. One leg will often swell noticeably compared to the other. The area will radiate localized heat, redness, and a deep, tender ache when you stand or walk. If that clot begins to move, your chest will sound the alarm. A sudden, completely unprovoked shortness of breath, a stabbing chest pain that catches sharply on the inhale, an unexplained racing heart rate, and sudden, severe lightheadedness. If you reach medical care in time, modern medicine has extraordinary ways to pull you back from the edge. Emergency teams can flood your circulation with powerful thrombolytics, clot-busting biochemicals that dismantle the microscopic fibrin web in minutes. Interventional radiologists can steer microscopic catheters directly through your veins, vacuuming the clot out of the pulmonary artery and reopening the highway before the right heart collapses. Dying from a blood clot feels like an impossible betrayal, suffocating with a chest full of air while an internal dam starves your heart. But the journey from a sluggish vein in your calf to an obstruction in your chest is a path your body maps out long before the final breath. Paying attention to that dull, persistent ache in your leg is the single, quiet realization that keeps the silent clot from ever taking flight.